The Birkie's so much more than the race, and the longer you can do it, the more you get out of it. And I think it pays not only in the day and the excitement of the day, but year-round in thinking about it and keeping you active. It's like a birthday, and it's like a physical. I mean, it's once a year. It's a test. It's not easy.
Welcome to the Birch Legacies podcast. We are sharing stories celebrating the motivation, the perseverance, and the lifestyle choices necessary to reach the status of Birchlegger. That is, skiers who have completed 20 or more Birkies, Korteloppets, or a combination of both. We would love to hear from Birchleggers young and old who have a story to tell about what keeps them coming back year after year. Information about appearing on this podcast is in the podcast notes. Hi, folks. Welcome back to Birch Legacies. Today, our guest is Scott Cooper, who has skied a ton of Birkies, as you'll hear. And when he sent some information to me, I was taken aback by the extraordinary dedication and commitment to all things Birkie. And I'll let him tell that story. But welcome to the podcast, Scott. And why don't you introduce yourself?
Oh, thanks. Happy to be here. Scott Cooper. I live in Madison, Wisconsin, and 70 years old and just finished my 40th Birkie.
Wonderful. That's a lot of Birkies. I think I've thought for a while they should go, Uberlegger is their 30. There needs to be something, I don't know, Ultralegger. What do you think?
Dedicated or foolish,
Yeah.
or there could be a whole number of different terms.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of words we could come up with for doing 40. Yeah. So you've done 40 and you turned 70 recently, apparently. And what kind of things do you do that you're able to, you fit work in between skiing, I understand?
Yes. Well, I'm retired now,
Okay.
but I always did fit work in between skiing. And there were years where I didn't get out much at all because of the work, and with 4 boys and they were young. And then there's been years where I get out a whole lot. And the last 10, as I've gotten older and able to fit things in the schedule, I actually get out quite a bit. I mean, there's years I'm out 60 times a year, and most often at least close to 40. So.
Yeah, it's nice when you can get out like in the middle of the day or, depending on the weather, just jump out at the right time. Yeah, that's excellent.
Right. Yeah. But there are those lean years where, you get out 3-4 times and before snowmaking and go up and do it anyway. So.
Yeah, real marginal conditions and such. So I think I read that you did your first one in 1978. Is that right?
1978. That's correct.
Okay.
That was the first one.
And so tell us about that one. My first was a year later in 79. And we started at Tumberk and went up the big hill and down Stormone. Did you go that same direction?
Yeah, went up the downhill. I had been married for 12 days.
Okay.
And my
priorities.
Wife, 12 days. I had given my wife a pair of cross-country skis, I think a year before, and her dad very wisely said, "This must be really serious." Because he knew I was into the skiing and some of the sports, and she was too, but never had been a skier. Mm-hmm. So we traipsed up there with 2 ex-college roommates, Liz, another friend, and his girlfriend. We all stayed in one room, shared beds, shared floors. Woke up the next morning, drove to the race. Pushed a car out of a snowbank, stopped. They were stuck in a snowbank. I can't remember if they were skiers or not.
Yeah.
Got to the start, very daunting. The gun had gone off. Threw on a little bit of wax, not much in those days. It's the wooden skis, they asked us. And, I said to Liz, "See you at the finish line," and plowed up the downhill. She did the Korte, and I did the full race that year.
So that was in 78. You said you actually missed the start because of helping those people out of the snowbank?
We missed the start. I think probably a number of combination of things. Probably weren't real attuned to the whole sort of hustle and bustle of getting there, and not sure exactly how to get there. But yeah, primarily because we pushed this car out of the snowbank. It took a little while to get out. I remember sharp turns. I remember going up the downhill thinking, "Oh boy, Liz is not going to like this." Mm-hmm. And then the hills never stop, of course. I remember running into a hay bale. They had hay bales in those days.
Yeah.
Covering up the trees on the sharper turns, and I put one of my skis into the hay bale, and it was later in the race. I remember lying down and thinking, I may not get up.
Yeah.
This is very comfortable down here. So I always think of that when I ski the race now, how they've sort of, really the trail is so improved. It's
Yeah.
just beautiful, but you don't have any of those hairpins anymore. Some, challenging turns, but not like those first years.
Right.
The other memorable thing from that first year was that there weren't many skeeters, and I forget how many. But in 78, there weren't that many. And into the race, because we got a late start anyways,
Yeah.
it's really, most people were probably ahead. But there was a Norwegian guy that came by me, and Tony was good about getting all sorts of Norwegians in, right?
Hmm.
And also foreign. And clearly, he sort of said hello, and it was clearly that he was you could tell he was Norwegian. And I thought, wow, that guy just was beautiful skier. And then about 10 minutes later, or 5 minutes later, I'm sure it was his wife that came blasting by me, and I thought I'm in last place. These old people are passing me, so now I'm
Yeah.
one of those people.
Yeah. And so was that for your wife going in the Cordy? Was that one where they came back to Telemark, or did they finish in the middle?
No, she finished in the middle, and then it bust her to the finish.
Okay. Yeah. And so that was one of the things that, did you have any kind of seating? I guess you wouldn't have been a
No,
part of
it was
that.
mass
Just,
start.
just mass start. Everyone just took
Everybody
off.
just started at one time. Yeah.
Yeah. I think one advantage you had probably of going, jumping in after the gun had gone off is you probably didn't have quite as dangerous, traversing the hilltop.
Right. There was one or two other years where it also started that way. But I do remember there was a year where Ernie St. Germain was involved in a crash
Mm.
coming down the other side. That year I remember really hairy and sort of bobbing in and out. I've downhilled my whole life, so at least I can maneuver pretty well through downhill. But I remember that being quite adventuresome.
Well, so doing the math on this, you just did your 40th, but if we do the math, we know that from 1978 till now is more than 40 years. Talk about some of the things that got in the way of you doing it some years.
There was a couple of years there that I was in grad school down at Miami of Ohio and Oxford, Ohio. So couldn't get back, was the middle of school. I played guitar in a friend's wedding one year. I tried to get the wedding changed. I really hung in there, but that was not going to be had. So I missed it that year. And then one year I missed it because our son Birk was born, and
Okay.
Birk, my
Let me just interrupt here for the listeners. That's not Burk, it's Birk.
definitely Birk, just like
I tell you, I just when I read this in your bio, I was like, oh my goodness, this gentleman has definitely made the commitment,
yes.
or his wife. That's probably the more
Well,
amazing thing.
yes, and the quick story there is she's half Norwegian and half Greek.
Okay.
The Norwegian side of her, and bless her heart, she said, "Oh, here's a name Birk. It means strong protector." So she'll always say that she admits that there was a huge pull on my part once that name surfaced to say, "That's it. I'm missing the
Mhm.
Birkie, Birk," and to this day I call him Birkie. And she'll every once in a while fire back and say, yeah, but it's a Norwegian name, so legitimizes it,
Yeah.
calling protector. But
There you go.
no, Birk was, I missed it that year.
So was he born at right around the Birkebeiner?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
the very beginning of March, and you just don't want to miss it, right? So
Right. No, that's
it was
exactly
one of
right.
those things. I felt badly missing it, but I didn't feel badly with the birth of our second son. So
Yeah.
yeah, I've having experienced missing it a number of times. Subsequently, I took care of that later in my career, and I had an employment contract
Hmm.
that said that no matter what the travel responsibilities or what was happening with the corporation, I I could appear at the Birkie, and it really carved out the whole weekend. So
Again, commitment, folks. You're listening. If you're one of the younger ones trying to get to that Birchlegger status, these are the kind of things you need to do. You need to work it into your contract. You need to fight the inclination to have a wedding that weekend. All those kind of things. You need to work on those to be able to keep coming back.
and maybe some family planning around the Birkie. So when you're thinking of having those children,
Yeah. I did talk to one of my earlier guests talked about that very fact, is that what were they thinking, So there's a no-go time. Which one of those, I mean, obviously each one is different, but sometimes when you get to 40, they kind of run together. Are there some that stand out to you that produce some memories that you can still bring to mind?
Yeah, any of them that I ski with my kids. So three of the four have skied the Birkie. Two do it now every year, and one is a basketball coach. He's assistant coach and head of player development for the Golden State Warriors. So that
Oh, really?
they
Okay.
never rest. So that's an impossibility. But
Hmm.
skiing with the boys, now with the grandchildren, each of the boys has done the Barney Birkie, sure of that. And now with when the grandchildren are up there, those are certainly memorable. There was a year that my really good friend Mike Van Sicklen forgot his skis. We got to the bus, and he realized he'd forgotten the skis and driven back. And so we talk about the Birkie bonk all the time.
Hmm.
And so, those years stick out. And one other, which was sort of odd, where the bus got a big backup when it was coming in, and
Okay.
before they really had those buses down, and now it's really not a problem. But I talked the bus driver into getting off the bus, ran to the start, and it was a good half mile. My wave had taken off, and in those days, you really had to start with your wave, is how they did the timing. So I was about 15 minutes behind. Caught my breath after the first 2 or 3K, and then finished. But it was
Hmm.
one of those years that I had trained a ton. But the Birkie's the Birkie, and you celebrate afterwards, and that those things happen. So
There's something about the stress of, worrying that you're going to get to the start that really
yeah,
hurts the first 10, 15 minutes of the race, because everything's just, the adrenaline's going and your heart's racing,
uh,
and you have to calm down at a certain point.
yeah. I think that's my wife would say she notices the stress for about 2 weeks prior to the Birkie, because you're looking at the weather.
Yeah.
It goes back and forth. Is it going to be too windy, too cold, too hot? How are you going to wax? I skate now. I've had for a long, long time, but
Oh, so you're still skating at 40 races?
yeah.
So you like most everyone, you had a classic for quite a few. Did you remember when you transitioned over to skating?
I was an early skater, and I'm pretty certain I only did like four or five. So early transition into skating. I did the Norwegian Birkebeiner with my son Birk in 2006, and I diagonaled then.
Yeah,
I think
everyone
that
does. Yeah.
year, I know that year I also diagonaled the Birkie, because since I knew I was going to do
Yeah.
but other than that, I skate still.
Okay. Yeah. I remember the early 80s when we were transitioning to skate. We were kind of like wondering if we could get it done, and we still even when we were skating, we carried wax with us that year just in case, because we weren't
Yeah.
confident we could skate the whole way. So one of the things I noticed and was excited to talk to you about in your notes is some of the traditions you have. Some pretty big time traditions. We all do, those of us that do it. But I was impressed by your list and the commitment of the people in your ski group. You want to tell us about a few of those?
Boy, I think for maybe 36 of the Birkies, gone up with a good friend, Mike Van Sicklen. We play soccer together, and we go up and stay in his cabin up in Brule. And there's about, at one point, up until maybe 3, 4 years ago, there's about 70 people from our neighborhood, basically the neighborhood and close to it, that ski the Birkie.
Hmm.
And so I have
Mean in your neighborhood in Madison?
yeah, I was living Shorewood Hills, so I was sort of counting near West Side
Yeah.
in Madison. And these are all people that played basketball with, who was on the soccer team, that thousands and thousands of miles of bike rides. We've basically, gone up together for, trained together,
Yeah.
long, long time. And when you do your 20th, there's a beer. You sort of, you buy a beer for everybody. Your
Okay.
30th, it's an open bar.
Okay.
40th, it's an open bar. So on my 30th, there were and Mike's as well. There was over 70 people.
Okay.
So so that's really fun. At the Brule cabin, we always do. There's a sauna, a wood burning sauna. So naked snow angels are a must. And then just the tradition of the kids. I mean, we've done big capture the flag games and
Hmm.
all sorts of things around the Birkie. So I always say the dinner afterwards
Yeah.
is just as much a part of the Birkie as the ski race. Twin Gables has been our sort of meeting place the last 4 or 5 years.
And Twin Gables, a restaurant, bar, or a supper
Yes.
club?
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
So same dinner.
Hmm.
Uh, and then also the same breakfast. We always have a big thing of oatmeal, fruit, and the oatmeal is, well dressed with different sorts of nuts and things like that. And then a banana on the way. So yeah, we sort of fall in and then listen
Yeah.
to those great the radio station that has all the Birkie songs, and of course now we've
WOJD.
got them
Yeah.
taped. Yeah, so now we can plug them into the car. So one of the things was really just ensuring, and I think also exposing our kids and Mike's kids, and there's actually now more people are my boy's age, which is basically 43 down to 36. There's more people of their friends
Hmm.
we have the dinner with afterwards than my age. And it used to be way in the reverse. But
Yeah.
that whole tradition of having the kids and now the grandkids is really the biggest thing. There was actually a point in time when the boys were young, feeling that the Birkie is such a great experience, and it's a great part of certainly my life, and that we put it into when we were doing our will and testament. The kids were very young at that age. And we wrote it into the will. There was a Birkie clause. And the
Okay.
Birkie clause was that there wouldn't be any money that would go to them till age 35, but up until age 35, if they skied the Birkebeiner. But the idea was I'm sure they, knowing our boys are all really good friends, they'd get together, do it, they'd shake their fist and say, that old coot. But they'd remember you, and so that was written in there.
So they could have a piece of the
All
estate. They could have a piece of the estate as long as it was used towards the Birkie. So yeah. So and the allowance, there would be an allowance for the Birkie though.
It was a one-time, I think it was like $1,000 or $1,500 or something like that that would go to them for the purchase of whatever, a car or something like that. So,
The Birkie
oh, and
clause.
if they didn't participate, it went back into that was sort of tough luck. Uh,
Gotcha.
and then that was it. But then when they were 35, or there was some 35 or 40, then the what was left of the estate would go to them.
Yeah.
But
A little arm twisting from the grave.
right, that's correct.
That is, I'm sure, pretty unique, unique operation there. So it's clear from what you've been telling us that this has meant a lot. What are some of the things when you think about the Birkie? Why has this been such a big deal for you, and what has it meant to you to do the Birkie? When you think about how it fits into your year, what is it that makes it so important to you and your family?
Yeah, great question. First of all, I do believe it's a lifestyle, and the last 5, 10 years, the Birkie Foundation talks about that. I mean, people involved in
Right.
Birkie talk about the lifestyle, but I've always felt it's a lifestyle. I'm I'm really not a person that says I'm going to get up and run at 6 in the morning and every single morning, and I think those things always fail because by about the 6 months in, it's boring. You're doing the same routine, and then it's like not every morning, and pretty soon it's not at all. So I think the Birkie being out there once a year keeps you doing other things and
Hmm.
keeps you fit. And I think that's the huge benefit of the Birkie. And then the flip side of that is it's really it's like a birthday, and it's like a physical. I mean, it's once a year. It's a test. It's not easy. But it's a challenge, and things go wrong, and the weather doesn't cooperate, and all of a sudden it's warm, and there was that one year it was warm and it snowed. I think it's camaraderie. I don't know every single person in the race, but I feel I do. They're all up there for somewhat the same reasons, and you feel a kinship to it. And I have a huge appreciation from Tony Wise through Ben Pop and for the volunteers and everybody in Hayward and Cable that puts it on. And it almost would be, as long as I can do it, it's fun to participate and be part of their celebration.
Scott, is there anything else that you'd like to share with people? Maybe advice for the up and coming Birchleggers?
I guess off the top of my head, if I had to give any advice, it would be the Birkie's so much more than the race, and the longer you can do it, the more you get out of it. And I think it pays not only in the day and the excitement of the day, but year round in thinking about it and keeping you active. And so just keep doing it.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I've ever had anyone say it quite like you did. It's both a birthday and a physical. It is so true. I've had people mention that it's like New Year's to them, but it is certainly a big point on the calendar. And I love the concept of it also being a physical. If you can do the Birkie in the end of February, then you've kind of spent the winter well.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing I would say too is find the people that I know that only do it like, once or twice, many times don't have a group. And it doesn't have to be just skiers, but a group that you do physical activity with to stay in shape. But that's probably I don't think for sure I wouldn't have done 40 if I didn't have a really good group of friends that we all do it and, support each other doing it. So it becomes social and physical.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably real important in probably anything that you do, but that's been real important.
Yeah, finding a group, and that's been a common thread. Folks are generally people have found people to ski with, either one or two close friends, or a training group, or a combination of both. So, quick aside on that, I just started. A lot of listeners, I'm sure, are on Strava, and I just started a group. The Strava just encouraged people to begin their own groups, and so I just started a group a couple days ago called Birch Legacies. So, if any listeners want to jump in on that, and you can start challenging each other for things to do, where most of the listeners are spread out all over, but if you got something going on and you want to challenge the others of us that to some kind of activity, it doesn't necessarily have to be skiing related, but let us know and put it in the join the Strava group and add something to do. Okay, well, thanks so much, Scott. I was very much looking forward to talking to you. Like I said, a son named Birk, that takes the cake in my book, but I appreciate your time, and you have a good time. I believe you're in Florida, right?
We are.
Well, thanks again, Scott, and enjoy your getting ready for the Birkebeiner next year, and we'll try to find each other somewhere on the trails when we're up there next time.
All right, John, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for listening. Please check out the podcast notes to see links to the Birch Leggings Club and the Birkie website. If you've skied a combination of 20 Birkies and or Korties, I encourage you to join the Birch Leggings Club. If you'd like to tell your Birkie story, please contact me, John Peterson, at my email listed in the podcast notes or by filling out the guest application form linked there. Please subscribe to our program wherever you get your podcasts and leave a review. You can also text us directly from your phone or computer using the quick link in the notes to let us know how we are doing.